Welcome to the Modern Work Pulse. For those that haven't met me or seen me, I'm sure you all have. You all got an email from me at the very least. My name is Dan. I'm the Training and Adoption Practice Manager for ICOM and across the other Cloud Collective partners as well. This month, like I said, we've got an interesting one for you. So George is going to take us through what in the whiteboard. We're going to talk about whiteboards. Who would have thought in 2023 we're going to be discussing whiteboards? But it's a fun one, it's an interesting one, and you'll love it. As usual, I'll take you through the feature roundup, and then we are joined by Carina from Quorum, who's going to talk about data security, but in a real no-nonsense sort of way. And then, as usual, the question time.
Hey there, everyone. How's it going? So I'm Georgia. I'm a training and adoption specialist at ICOM. Deliver all kinds of training, do all kinds of change management. So yeah, I've driven by customer success. I'm a devoted parent of 2 cats. One of them is orange, and the other one's pretty clever. Now today I'm actually going to break out of the PowerPoint, and I'm going to be sharing straight off my desktop because we are going through Whiteboard today. So I would typically share this into the meeting directly, and we'll do a bit of that later. However, for recording reasons and just stability reasons, I'm going to do it this way, but we'll have a little play later. I promise you're not going to miss out on all the fun. So let's learn all about Whiteboard. So I'm going to be dragging around. Here we go. What is Whiteboard? So we all remember the big white thing in the corner of your meeting rooms. It's like that, but it's digital. Well, Whiteboard is a really great interactive tool. You can use it directly into your meeting. So you can just click share and it will pop up in your meeting. You can all edit it in there. And it's great for brainstorming, for drawing. You can create mood boards in there. You can use templates. You can also do things like add comments and reactions to other people's writing and doodling and things like that. And it's a really fun way to brainstorm. I mean, we've all been there, face to face playing with that. So this is the new modern version of that. So you can start these from scratch during a meeting at any time when you hit the share button in your meeting. You might have been ignoring it for a little while, but it will say start a whiteboard, start sharing a whiteboard, or you can actually prepare it ahead of time. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go. So where can you get a whiteboard? First place you can go is you can just go to whiteboard.office.com. That'll take you straight there. You can start using it on the web and it's all fine and dandy. You can also download it as an app for Windows. I'm going to provide some links to this later on. You can use it in Teams, in your meetings. You can also add it to a team, or sorry, rather, you can add it to a channel as a tab and you can actually access it offline. It's a really good way to work asynchronously as well as, all together while you're actually on a call or something. How do I do things in my whiteboard? It's a little bit meta because we're doing that sort of double screen thing, but I'm going to talk you through all the tools available. So you can click and drag around your whiteboard, nice and easy. You've got access to a toolbar down the bottom, so this one here. If I click on each of these, I see different workspaces. So I've got my ink workspace where I can pull up things like a pen and I can, start drawing smiley faces that look a little goofy. And I can access my sticky notes, click and drag those directly onto the page, start typing into those. They're really fun. You can access your reactions from here. So I can go and chuck a love heart, up here if I want to. I can just keep going if I want, or I can undo with the undo button. Next to that, I've got a little speech bubble, which will give me a comment. And this is really handy if you wanted to leave feedback on a concept or something. You can go in, you can type a little comment and say, great idea or whatever you want to say. Like that. We're going to go send. And then you can collapse that one down. But whenever you see one of these, you can actually click on it and it will open up like that. You can reply directly to the thread as well. So if you want to respond to someone's feedback, you can do that from there. Or I can remove it by going delete thread. You can also add in text, so you don't need to worry if writing's a little bit hard. You can add in shapes, like all these different ones. Get circles, for example. Drag those in. You can actually move them around if you hold down the shift key. So there's a lot of tools in here available to you. Finally, under here, you've got access to all kinds of media, so you can actually drop images, videos, documents, all directly in here. There's also some really cool templates. I'm going to talk about those shortly. So that's how you do things in your whiteboard. You also have all your settings at the top. You can access all of those there. And you've got all of your view settings here. So if you did really want to quickly zoom out, you can actually click fit to screen. That'll zoom all the way out. Or you can zoom in or zoom back into a very specific number if you want. Handy. So more a little bit on navigation. Basically, you can click on an object And if it's not locked like this one is, you can click on an object and you can drag it around. Pretty intuitive, I would hope. You can resize them as well. You can even rotate them if you wait for that little circle to show up. So lots of cool stuff you can do with that. If you hold down the space bar, you can click and drag to move around the board. So hold space, that'll let you drag around like that. You can zoom by scrolling in and out, and you can also use your arrow keys to move. So, do you need a pen or a touchscreen? No, you don't. There's so many things you can do without having to draw. So even though you might have a Microsoft Surface Pen like I do right here, which you can use to draw, you can also draw perfectly fine with your mouse. If you right click anywhere on a whiteboard like this, you're going to have the option to drop in a note, drop in a comment, and all kinds of things like that. You can also copy and paste really easily from the web. You have to excuse me, my computer started running slowly there. You can copy and paste really easily from the web if it's text, if it's images, and you can copy and paste individual elements from your whiteboard. So it makes it really easy to interact, even if you don't have equipment that you would traditionally associate with a whiteboard. Okay, so drawing can be hard, and that's okay. If you think your lines are too wobbly, there's actually some really cool tools built in. So for example, if you want to draw a straight line, you can just hold shift. So as I hold shift and I draw, you'll see that I can actually change the angle the line is at, but it is perfectly straight, and that's there to help me. You can also draw nicer looking arrows just by clicking on any of the pens, and you can choose to give it an arrowhead. So if I want to point at this, I can draw it in like that, and you can also combine those two. So if I wanted to point at that, and then I've changed my mind, I actually want to point over here, I can do that, and it will drop the arrowhead wherever I end up. So lots of really interesting tools that make it very easy for you. Another tool that's really cool is the enhanced ink shapes. So if that's not turned on, you can find it up here in the in the little settings menu for you. But what that will do, and I'll show you this. Let's go for a nice colorful pen. Let's say I want to draw a shape and it's a little bit wobbly, but I've done my best. After I draw it, it will click into place and it will actually make that nice and neat for me. Same goes with circles. God, circles are hard to draw, aren't they? But I've made it a complete circle. Oh, it's not going to do it for me now, is it? It never does that. It makes me look silly. Let's draw a hexagon. There we go. So it's cleaned up my hexagon. It's made it nice and neat for me. So those enhanced ink shapes will actually make everything look a lot neater for you. It can be a little bit annoying because sometimes you're just trying to draw like a loose circle and it's like, yeah, I'm going to make that nice and neat for you. Not today, is it? Here we go. Try that one. There it went. So they do have to connect at the end, and I find it doesn't like if circles sort of go in a little bit like mine tend to, but you'll get used to that. And that's how you can use enhanced shapes. If you can't draw, you can insert images really easily. So by clicking in here, you can find images and you can upload them directly off your computer. So if it's something that's not easy to search for, maybe it's branding, maybe it's something specific to your organization, totally fine. You can upload them there. You can also go Bing, and Bing Images will search up royalty-free images for you. So let's say I want to grab, I don't know, some balloons. You can uncheck Creative Commons only. You can grab something. A lot of these will also have a transparent background, so that makes it a little bit nicer looking when you're working with them. So you can do things like drop that directly in. Now, if you really want to impress everyone, you can do what I've done here. You actually just take an image and then you can trace it. And then when you strip the image out, it looks like you're actually fantastic at art, which we all want to do to impress everyone. So why isn't my whiteboard white? You can't just ask people that, but you can change the background of your whiteboard, make them a little bit more interesting looking. I do this so that they have a visual distinction. By clicking up here, going format background, and you see I've got mine set to blue, but I can make it purple, pink, go back to the classic if I want. I don't want to look at that, it's so boring. Let's go back to blue, lovely. So you can change all that from there. You can also change the patterns you've got. I'm quite partial to the graph myself, but if you like a dot or a square, go for it. Now, as we scroll up, see a drawing I did earlier, and isn't whiteboard just for mucking around? A picture of my cat. I've added a comment. No, Roy, it's actually a really powerful collaboration tool. So I'm going to show you how it can be used to collaborate. So obviously you've got things like, being able to do doodles, you can do your reactions, you've got your tic-tac-toe. Flowcharts are really good use of the tool. You can use that with the shapes and lines. You can have them mean different things, change their colors really easily. as you go, like that. Really fun. Post-it notes, I think, are a really good way to do it. But one of the best ways that actually incorporates pretty much all of those is the use of templates. So why do I love templates? Why do they even matter? Well, for one, you've got so many bloody options. Two, you can use them however you want. So you might pick up affinity diagram, but you actually want to use it more as, a brainstorming activity. Totally fine. It's yours. Who cares? You can use it. They give you lots of ideas for brainstorming activities. So you might not have considered doing, a mood board through here. You might not have considered a cause and effect diagram, but it'll give you the opportunity to do that. You can create your own, which I'm going to talk about. They're quick and easy, and they make you look really clever. So you can just click in there at any time, go templates, and you'll get all of these. Have a look through them. They're even like categorized for you. So if you want to do some strategy, I'm like, oh, this assumption grid looks cool. I can preview it. I can click through it, look at all the other ones, and then I can click use this template when I'm ready. You'll be able to drag them straight in, and they might look a little bit like this. So you can do team building exercises, games, all those kinds of things. You can do a mood board. Here's one I did earlier on idea generating. You can also access some really cool ones like this one here, the sailboat retrospective. Comes with all the images preloaded, so you look like an artist, but you don't have to do the drawing. Fantastic. Do all of these different things. It's just like a regular whiteboard, but someone else has already done it for you. Project kickoffs, the whole shebang. You can also make your own templates, which is probably my favorite part, right? So to make your own template, you do exactly what I just did. You go in to your templates, and instead of going to one of these recommended ones, you go to My Templates. You can click Create New Template right there. That will create a template out of your entire whiteboard. So if you do want to make one, I suggest starting a fresh whiteboard, creating it there, and then when you are wanting to use it again, you're not going to drag in everything else, all the notes and all of that. Here's a couple I made earlier, including this waffle one. It'll show up like this, and I'm just going to go down a little bit. No, it's not going to let me. That's fine. We'll go here. And with a little bit of loading, hopefully just a little bit more. There we go. You can see my template has been dropped straight in there. So if you want to prepare things earlier, once again, if you want to look really clever, you can make templates of whatever you want. Be like, yeah, I just whipped this up while you guys were talking. Makes you look so clever, right? So good. So you can create your own templates very easily. I recommend having a bit of fun with that. Just start fresh with a new whiteboard and then go and create a template. It'll just take the whiteboard you're working in. Alrighty, let's have a little look at just some best practice tips. You can draw disappearing ink with the laser pointer. Find the laser pointer just in your inking station right here. And you can use that to show things, of course, but if you just want to like circle one point, for example, you can do that, and that will circle it and it will disappear for you. You can also change the color of your laser. Let's say you use a lot of red in your presentation and you want to switch to different colors, you can do that from here. So you can put it into lime green, light blue, all of those colors. If you're using a whiteboard for your meeting, set it up ahead of time. Don't expect to be able to put it together and it to work the way you want to if you're setting it up on the fly, especially with, a bunch of people looking at you. Really hard to do. If you're presenting from a whiteboard, and this is what I had planned to do, you can hit follow me and everyone will be following you. So as you move around the whiteboard, they're going to see what you see. You can stop following at any time. You also have a countdown timer. So if you have an activity, hint, hint, if you have an activity, you might want to start a timer and everyone will be able to see that. You can also use whiteboard powered annotation while you're just sharing your screen. So you can draw on top of it all. So if I go to the top of my screen, you won't be able to see it, but you can get this pen icon like that, and then that will actually load for a million years and then allow you to access all those pens to draw on top of your screen. So when it appears, I can go and grab a laser pointer, for example, from here, and that's drawing on top of my screen. Then when I'm done with this, I can go clear all annotations and it will go away. So that's a really handy one. For those of you that came along last week, you might have heard me mention that loop components can also be used in whiteboards. So I want to show you that too. So we're going to go over here and we're going to see my loop component. Cool, huh? So you can actually paste a whole loop component right in here. They have a lot more word processing capabilities than your text boxes in Whiteboard. So if you want to do a paragraph, if you want to use a checklist and be like, oh, yep, I did talk about why templates are great, etc., you can check all of that out right there. So you can still fully interact with them if your computer's not crashing like mine is. There we go. Yay. And you can do all the stuff you would normally do with the loop component. And I'll throw it back to you, Dan, when you're ready.
Good job, everyone. Round of applause for Georgia. That was easily the most spectacular presentation we've had in the Modern Work Pulse yet. Thank you very much, Georgia. Thanks everyone for participating. We'll have a look at your beautiful pictures and see who the winner is. Is my screen back on? You can see the presentation again. We're all good to go. Excellent. Like I said, I'm going to be pretty quick fire today, which is a wonderful change for me. It's going to be lovely when I go and edit the video later. I'm not going to have to spend an hour cutting out ramble. Let's see if I can make it a little bit more succinct than normal. So we're going to start off with what's new. Together mode updates. We've got some changes to together mode in Teams. So we've added some cool usability, or Microsoft have added some cool usability improvements in Together mode now. So while you're in Together mode and you've got that all active on your screen, there's a couple of changes there you can see I've highlighted. Now you can see name labels against everybody. It also supports status, so you can see status icons like their microphone, or if they're the active speaker or spotlight. So you've got the three dots next to each of the names that appears superimposed on everyone's photo there. If you're in Together mode, you can also see reactions and raised hands, which is great. So it pops up on that person's video. So you can really easily and really clearly see who's reacting, who's raising their hand, who's talking, and all of those sort of improvements, which are great. The other one, which is actually quite good, is that your own video in that gallery view is removed. So you'll always get your self preview in the bottom right hand corner, but to make it a little bit more comfortable and stop that duplication of that video, your place in the gallery is removed for your view. So you don't have to look at yourself twice. It does make it a little bit more comfortable to watch. Some of those sort of things can just, this is all about inclusivity, right? Making it easier to understand what's happening. So sometimes seeing that duplicate of yourself does take away from that understanding. The other one that we've got is some changes to captions. So we've got customizing captions now. So the new caption setting pane, you can see when we've got captions set, you can see at the bottom here, we've got a settings option now available to us. When you click on the caption setting, it brings you up a list of things that you can change. So when you're in a meeting with that turned on, the settings button will allow you to change things like the caption language, just for you, color of the text, the size, the color of the background, and the position on your screen. So this is in public preview at the moment. So you should be able to see that if you switch into preview mode on Teams. And it does make the captions a lot easier to read, right? Like we're all used to streaming services and a lot of video games now where you can customize the captions. Really helpful for people that might be colorblind or high contrast. All about that clarity and again that inclusivity. There is a change to chat and compact chat now. So we've got a more condensed chat layout in Teams. I'm going to put my hand up for this one and say I actually really love this. So you can see there we've highlighted on this side, if you go and turn on compact chat mode, it just lists all of your conversations under chat one after the other. So you don't get that message preview, that last message preview under or next to each name. And it also switches into the main chat window. You can see it compresses all of that into more of a conversation flow all onto one side. So it is a much more condensed chat layout. You can now see more chats on that side panel. And like I said, the condensed chat in the main window. Again, all about making use of that real estate that you've got available to you, right? Making the most of what you can see and how you can interact. And that's available now. So that's in your settings, in your team settings. So settings and chat density. So that's under the general tab. You go chat density and select compact and it will go to that option. Moving on, this is one that I've been waiting for a really long time and we're going to wait just a tiny little bit longer. CarPlay updates. Hands up, show of hands. Anyone use CarPlay or Android? Well, in this case, CarPlay, but not Android Auto. Yeah, cool. There's a few that use it. Look, I've always been a little bit critical of Teams in CarPlay that it doesn't really do much. But there are some updates coming, rolling out from late July, that you will be able to access your speed dials. So any users that you set up as a speed dial in Teams, you'll be able to access those through CarPlay and make calls, as well as recent call list. So you can see that screen grab there. That's what it'll look like. Pretty simple. And at the same time, you'll be able to join your meetings from CarPlay. Some options or some updates that we covered last month that were more coming soon. This is now available. It is generally available. So the ability to set your work location from Teams. So you can see next to your availability, you've got the little drop down box there where you can set your location to in the office or remote. It is also available on Outlook on the web, but it is easier to control that through Teams, which is really good. Being able to communicate and share where you're working from with teammates. I'm finding it really handy to be able to communicate that. I've got a few colleagues that do use it regularly, and it does make things a little bit easier just to know who's out and about, who's in the office. So I do encourage you all to play around with that one a little bit more. Which leads us directly into the next sort of flow on from there. Again, we spoke about it last month as a coming soon, and it is generally available now. Setting your work hours and location as a schedule through Outlook on the web. So you can log into Outlook online through office.com, and through your settings, you can choose where your location for the day is and what your working hours are. So it's quite a granular sort of change that you can put in there, or sorry, a schedule that you could put in there, in that you can change your working hours for each day of the week and the location, and it sets it as a schedule that flows into Teams, and it also flows into Outlook. So anyone that you might have shared your calendar with will be able to see your location and your working hours. And again, it'll control all of those sort of contactability options that flow on from there. So it'll automatically put you as out of the office in Teams. It'll pop up that you're not in the office for other users, and it won't notify you. So it'll do that automatically for you. Any questions? All good? See, I told you I'd be quick. We've only got a couple of updates this month, but I think they were all really usable and really functional updates for us. So I've been super fast this month, thank God. Let's see if I can repeat that next month. But what we're going to do instead is move right on. Let us introduce the special guest, the expert for the month. See, we've always got the Ask an Expert section, and this month, it's all about go big or go home. We're going to talk about cybersecurity. So, Carina, I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm going to be quiet. And if you could please introduce yourself, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause, virtual round of applause.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, guys. Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Carina. I'm one of the security analysts here at Quorum. So we'll go through some common types of scams that we have. Most commonly would be text messages, phone calls, and emails. I'm sure everyone has received a text message from supposedly Toll saying they owe some sort of amount. Click here to pay your bill now, or the post office saying that your parcel couldn't be delivered. And those text messages, I find that are very believable because most of the times you are waiting on a parcel. So you are lured to click on that link. Although they could be malicious, I would always go through the safe and legitimate channels to find out. I wouldn't click on those links even if you are a little bit unsure. If it is someone pretending to be the post office, for example, you can download the post office app. It's got great notification features for your parcels. So I would definitely take that approach to not click on anything that you are not aware of. When it comes to phone scams, I'm sure that we've all also received. It's like we could play scam bingo. Who has received a text message or a phone call or an email? Those ones, they used to come through just as a regular landline phone number, but they're now also coming through as a mobile number. You can notice that if you don't say anything, the call hangs up within a few seconds. This is usually because they're calling multiple people at once. So whoever picks up the phone first, they drop all the other phone calls and then pay attention to the person that has answered. That's one way that they do it. Another way is that they could also be calling you to see if your number is active. So they will put you on an active list. and then maybe sell that information to someone else to have. Some phone numbers, some settings on your phones will let you block calls from numbers that you are not aware of, whether that's Android or an iPhone, but I know that's not viable for everyone if you have your number being shared around for work purposes. But this presentation will be focusing on the most common type of scam, which is email. So phishing scams is the most common type. Australians lost 77 million to email scams last year, and this is just the reported number. We would assume that the real number would be a lot higher. Scammers will use similar logos to the actual organization that they are pretending to be. Some of these logos can look very legitimate. Some of them will hire graphic designers to design those logos and make them appear as real as possible. Some of them are getting really smart and very believable, so please don't feel bad if you do fall for one of those and if you click on a link. Some tips that we have for you to notice those, however, is this is a real example that we had coming through last week for one of the customers that we have. You can see over here, refund is available. This is perfect timing. Everyone is waiting on the tax return to come through. Pretending to be the government. So at the top, you can see fake domain. The domain is anything that comes after the @ As you can see, the government wouldn't use secretpress.me. The logo is a replica, as we can see over here, and it says, hey, no name. The government would know your name. Poor grammar is also another good one to spot. If it is a legitimate email, it is usually spelled correctly, and there will always be some sort of tactic for you to click on it. This link will expire 3 days from the date sent. They will also usually have a link or an attachment for you to click or download. Another common one that we've also been seeing is one pretending to be DocuSign. Click on here to see the document that someone sent you. Another one that we've also been seeing is an email pretending to be Microsoft saying that your password is about to expire, and so on. A lot of us receive a lot of emails every day from different senders, whether that's sales, specials, newsletters. We would recommend to do a little bit of a spring clean just for you to know what you're expecting to come through, and makes you a little bit more aware as well of what is expected to be in your inbox. The real question is, how did they get your email to start with? How did it end up in your inbox? There's a website called Have I Been Pawned? The word pawned came from gaming due to the proximity of the letter P and O next to the keyboard, and it's supposed to be you have been owned, as in compromised. This is a website that has a database on leaked databases and your own password, as well as your email. So another methods could be via your LinkedIn and anything that you post on social media as well. We share more than we think on social media. Now, when it comes to social media, a lot of us are interactive and we want to talk to people. So a few Facebook pages will say, what was your first job? What was your first pet's name? Any kind of data that you put out there could be used against you to try to pretend to be you, or try to bypass into your account through your security questions. So anything personal like those questions could be used. I'm not sure if you follow New South Wales Police Force on Facebook. Whoever runs that marketing is absolutely great. But this is something that they posted a couple of years ago. Stop giving people your personal info to guess your password and security questions. So you can see how people can start gathering more data about you. So even if your accounts are on private, anything that you put out there in a public manner becomes public information. And even if you delete it, we can go back and see it. There's a website called Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine is a very large database of the internet where it allows you to go back on a website back on a certain date that you decide to do. So even your own Twitter account, if you commented on something that was public, even if your account is private, it will be there. We can go back on the New York Times. This is what it looked like in 2013 in September. So you can go back and see the links. You can go back and see what Kim Kardashian was talking about back in 2010. It is all there. So even if she goes back and deletes one of these tweets, we can still go back and see what it was. So this is just to bear in mind of anything that you do post on the internet is there forever. So how do you protect yourself? We would recommend using password vaults. I know some people have been apprehensive in the past of using those. The good thing about them is that you only have to remember one single password. You can also enable multi-factor authentication to log into it, and you can have password generators within that password vault as well, so you don't have to be making up your own passwords. When it comes to your password strength, that is very important. So that's why it would also be a good idea to use a vault. As we can see on the table over here, depending on how many characters that you have, the stronger your password is, the harder it is for someone to crack it. So if you've got 4 characters, it's almost instantly that they will crack through it. But if you've got 18, it may take over 100 years. You can also check if your password has been leaked in a data breach through that website that we were just at before, have it been pawned, and see how strong your password is. We would also recommend to use multi-factor authentication, also known as MFA, wherever possible. This can be via text message, it can be email, or it can be code sent to your accounts, as well as security questions. So even if your password has been leaked, and the hacker has a correct one, when you have that second layer of authentication, that's where you would really need to get into your accounts. We would recommend adding MFA wherever you can on all of your accounts. You can do it for most social media platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. As mentioned, we would also recommend to not overshare information publicly on social media and any other forums or websites, just so it is a little bit harder to bypass as you. We would also be careful on text messaging links and who you give your personal information to. Your IT help desk will not give you a call asking you to accept your MFA prompt. For example, this is exactly how Uber got leaked and hacked. Someone sent one of their users a WhatsApp message saying, please accept my MFA prompt, and so they went. And lastly, with all of the breaches that we've been having in Australia, including Optus, Medibank, I'm sure we have all been breached over there one way or another in the last year or so. You can sign up for Have I Been Pawned as well to see data breaches, so they can notify you of those. But you can also request your credit report to be sent to you for free every 3 months. This would be a really good way to just make sure that there are no unusual inquiries on your behalf or any loans taken under your name. With those breaches, there were some passports and driver's license and very sensitive information that could easily be bypassed as you. So we would highly recommend to have those checked as you can. And that's all I had. Are there any questions? Anything I can answer?
Very cool. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carina, for that presentation. That was awesome. I have well and truly been outdone today by these 2 wonderful ladies. Thank you so much. Round of applause for both of them. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate everyone joining us as usual. I'm going to put the link to the super quick survey in the chat there. Really appreciate if you could take 5 seconds out of your day, click on that and give us your thoughts and a rating. Once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Carina. Thank you, Georgia, for your presentations. Go and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next month.